Welcome, and today's PSA brought to you from Jesse Hall here at our studio in Indy Atlantic, Florida. I'm with Remax Elite, and with me to my right is Bailey Scott with Sunbelt Title. Bailey, how are you today?
Hey, I'm good, Jesse. How are you? It's a beautiful day here in Florida. How are you doing?
It is. I'm loving the cheesy broadcaster thing we got going on here.
Are we heading over to sports next? I mean, I don't know.
Live with the weather. Hold on, coming in, breaking news. But no, seriously, we have to get serious because today's topic, unfortunately, is one of those not so great topics.
It's a little heavy, yeah.
It's a little heavy, and we're talking about people being victims of
wire fraud.
Wire fraud.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So,
fraud is a scary word in its own.
I know, and I wish this was like last year's news, like 2017. But here, for instance, we have hot off the press just earlier this week on January 6, 2018. Cyber scammers want your wired funds. Reads the headline, and we're continuing to see that it's still a real thing. It's still a very strong presence in our society. It's a very strong, and unfortunately, it's not only uptrending, meaning it's becoming more and more prolific. Is that the word I'm looking for? It's becoming more and more widespread. It's becoming to where it's not just in a couple pockets of the United States. It's happening in every community.
Our entire industry.
Yeah, and everybody's kind of being affected. And we want to start out this new year by protecting people's money, because you really can't have a successful 2018 if people are still going to be vulnerable to being victims. And we want to reduce the amount of victims this year, because ultimately we want to talk about pleasant things. We want to talk about how to remodel your home. We want you to talk about the upcoming trends with furniture and colors and and different things like that. Not how not to lose money.
Yeah.
Like, let's, so we want to nip this in the bud, make sure everybody is
aware,
you're educated, and you know what to ask for. So let's just dive in. Top 3 ways that people are getting scammed.
With wire fraud?
With wire fraud, yeah. So what are the top 3 ways that these predators are getting into?
Hacking emails. That's got to be number 1.
That's number 1, right?
Impersonating realtors, title companies, lenders. That's what these hackers are doing. They're impersonating us in the industry to make it seem like we're changing these wiring instructions to you guys. And it could be as simple as changing a letter on an email address, or .com instead of .net or .gov. Any little thing that they're doing just to impersonate us, to make it seem like to you guys that we're changing these wiring instructions, and that's how they're getting your money.
So, what about, I know before even snail mail was something. Is that still in the past, or are we still seeing people
not too much? It's it's really coming towards like the technology era. We're so digital now that we're working on text messaging, email, phone calls. It's not so much as a snail mail, because we are sending those wiring instructions through the emails, but snail mail, we're not seeing it too much anymore.
Okay. And what about phone calls?
Phone calls, they can impersonate phone calls, absolutely.
Yeah. It's
a lot easier through emails and text messaging. That way, you can't really disguise a voice.
Exactly.
But yeah, usually we see it. Email is like the number 1 right now.
So there you have it. So protect your email. What's some red flags that people need to look out for?
And these fraudsters are getting so clever with the way that they're doing this. They're stealing our headlines, our signature lines. They're even going as far as to Remax with a S at the end, remaxes.net. They're being really clever about the way that they're trying to impersonate our emails. So just being aware, instead of maybe like hitting reply, start to type in, the verified email address. Don't click on any links that you don't know that are verified, because that could bring up viruses,
malware, spyware, yeah, all those malicious things. It's really a shame, because we talk about this now in 2018, and it's almost like 10 years ago. If you listen to this conversation, you'd be like,
no idea.
Are they living in the Jetsons era? Like, is everything online? Is everything, is it just a bunch of criminals out there in the wild, wild west of digital virtual world? And, so not to sound, like apocalyptic or anything else. I mean, things are still, we're still able to catch most of them and prevent most of this. But we just want 2018 to be the year that this dies. And it's only through education and making sure that everybody knows. I'm talking, we need to make this mainstream. You know, we can only do so much through, for instance, you know, this is from Metro Center Association of Realtors breaking this news. We're seeing more things again coming from the from our own industry associations, from our own agency watchdog groups, but this really needs to be, and I wish it was, you know, more on CNN. Like we just need
more talked about.
You know, we just need, you know, the Fox News and NBC and ABCs like every night to be like, and that's going to be it for us over here, Bailey, and then be like, but just make sure you recycle, neuter your dogs and cats, and watch out for
wire fraud.
Wire fraud, yes. I mean, you know, they just need to keep it in the vernacular of our society, of our culture, and just make sure they mention it over and over again. Because, you know, just like Bob Barker, you know, neuter and spade your cats and dogs. We need to remind people to watch out for wire fraud because the market is hot. The fraudsters know this, and they know there's a lot more people looking to buy and sell right now, and more than ever, you know, we've had a great uptick in the climate here. Everybody feels confident with buying. Everybody is still able to borrow at historic lows, you know, so, you know, the banks are so much more lenient, so much more forgiving, so much more generous with lending. So, you know, there's more buyers in the marketplace than ever before. You know, we're at an industry shortage, you know, nationwide. We're at a shortage. You know, the inventory is very skinny, so everybody's fighting for the same limited amount of homes available, and
it's a hot market, and the fraudsters know this.
I know,
right?
and it's like, you know, they just hop on everything. But, you know, it's not just our industry, though. I mean, you know, Targets in the past, Equifax, Experians, they all have vulnerability. So even if you're a credit score, a big corporation, you know, I mean, I think, you know, we've actually heard some really big names in the past, you know, some really big banks.
And
yeah, you know, credit card companies. So it's not like anybody is immune. Every industry has its vulnerability. It just happens that we are
a big target.
a big target because I guess, you know, some of the techniques that they're using is still brand new and it's still hard to identify. And I think that's what's so troubling is, yes, they are becoming more creative. Like if you look at the whole email, the signature, like you said, looks good. Even the bottom footer, like they're using your logos, your headquarters,
our picture, you know,
your pictures, you know, corporate addresses and corporate phone numbers, you know, so they're mimicking the email. It's not just, you know, a prince from Nigeria no more. Now it's you know, they're making it very hard to decipher which is valid and which is not. So here's your takeaways. If you see anything red flag, weird, we didn't call you and they tell you to expect a certain email. Call us. Call us. Verify. Call somebody. Say, did you send me this? Should I be concerned? Should I be worried? Now, I know Sunbelt Title has some things in place. For instance, they would never see a wire instruction from an agent, correct?
A realtor, exactly. So if we're working with you, you're a buyer, and you get wiring instructions from Jesse, that should raise a red flag right there, because with Sunbelt Title, we send the wiring instructions directly to you as the client. We leave the realtors out of it, less liability for them. And again, that'll raise a red flag from you. You call Jesse, hey, did you just send me wiring instructions?
Right.
Nope, it shouldn't, you know, so it'll come right from Sunbelt Title. We also send those wiring instructions in a password-protected email. So, you know, if you could get them as just an attachment, again, red flag right there. We like to protect you as much as we can. Also, I'm sure you have it too with RE/MAX.
Right.
At the bottom of your signature line, be aware of wire fraud.
Exactly, and that's something I think we all got the memos early last year. And I actually borrowed, I think, one from your company, and I just copied the
phrasing,
the phrasing and the language there, and I posted it in the bottom of my email signature because it really is something that you know, again, new buyers and sellers just aren't aware of. So I make sure that every correspondence that I send, in big highlighted bold red at the bottom of every email, it says, you know, watch out, don't do this, do this, and it's important because I think that's one of the many little ways we can reach you know, somebody before they're a victim.
Exactly.
What's something else that if someone does find that maybe they did cross that threshold, maybe they did give the wrong source, their information? Is there any kind of, should I report that? What's
There
that look
are
like?
ways to report it, but let me just tell you guys, and not to scare you even more, but it's a very small window. 9 times out of 10, once your money is gone, it's gone. There's not a lot of things that the government can do to get that money back. So really being on the forefront of it, seeing these red flags, just us raising awareness through
Right.
this. We'll go ahead and put down in the comments below a website that you can go ahead and report those things to. But again, being on the forefront, don't mind calling us about these warrant instructions. That's what we're here for.
Precisely. Now, should they call a federal watchdog group or their bank, or who should that first call be to?
Bank should be first, just so
Okay.
that they can, be on the forefront of freezing accounts. What they can
Gotcha.
do is trying to retract that wire. Again, but always just call that title company, the bank, just to verify those account numbers.
Excellent, excellent. And any closing words today, Bailey, as far as sellers that are maybe shopping around for a title company?
You really do want to work with someone who's reputable, and that goes for lenders, realtors, title companies. As far as Sunbelt Title, we're #1 in ethics. We do have these security measures in place to protect you, to protect our realtors
Yes.
from these fraudsters. Jesse, how long have you been in the business?
So, in 2 years with Remax Elite, I have heard this over and over again. So 2 years just in this marketplace. Licensed, however, since 2003.
So you've been in it. He's been in the trenches. He's seen these fraudsters around.
Yeah.
We know what to do to keep you guys safe and keep your money safe.
Exactly. And, it seems like no matter where we are as an industry, there's all going to be some vulnerabilities. When I first started, we saw a lot of these no-doc loans, and a lot of people being victims of banks just leveraging these, really bad junk mortgages and junk loans and stuff like that. So that was hard to watch in 05 and 06. And of course, it sent our economy to a spiraling meltdown and a Great Recession. So this isn't something that maybe can induce such a apocalyptic, kind of scenario. But if your savings is taken, even if it's a down payment that's taken, this is money that's not recoverable. This is money that you worked hard for, and this is money that you're entitled to and nobody else. So even though it may not send a whole economy into a downward spiral, it's still going to send your personal economy in a downward spiral. It's going to jeopardize the transaction from even happening. Some people have lost not only all their money, but they also lost now their dream home or the ability to sell their home, to the buyer, and now they have to, now there's those costs associated. Now they have to,
or they've sold their home and they were going to purchase a new home, and now
Right.
they've lost their savings, and now they've lost their home.
Exactly. And so there's a domino effect going either which way when these type of things happen. And we really want this 2018 to be the year these fraudsters go, crap, they got our gig. We have no more leverage. We can't be smart enough. We can't outsmart them anymore. Our tactics are cold and stale, and the gig is up. And that's what we want to send them, get that message through.
That starts with you guys as the clients.
Right.
We're doing everything that we can on our end to protect you. We have these safeguards in place, but spreading awareness, I think what we're doing now is number
Right.
one, and number two is just, being aware of the little red flags that we've mentioned here. If the email address looks weird, if they change the wiring instructions last minute, if you get them from an unreputable source, just pick up the phone and call.
Please, yes. Call, verify, and let's nip this in the bud. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
And again,
having me.
I hope you come back to our studio
Love it here.
in Atlantic at Remax Elite on 5th Ave. My name is Jesse. With me again today was Billy Scott with Sunbelt Title. Thank you all so much. Tune in next time. And until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. Take care.